everyone who managed to join us tonight. We really, really do appreciate making your time to join us. My name is Talent Manyonga, but I love calling myself Tariwe Mari. I'm a financial literacy educator. I love reminding people that money matters and we must be in charge of it. I'm also an author of 2 financial literacy books for kids, What School Never Taught My Daughter and Making Sense with Your Sense. And 8 to 5, you'll find me as a management accountant at a food manufacturing firm. But after 5, that's when I do my financial literacy educating, and I also do coaching as well, just reminding people that we need to be besties with our money. So basically, that's about me. And I'm also a mom to 2 beautiful kids, a boy and a girl. And I'm just passionate about money. I just love reminding people that money matters and we just need to be friends with it instead of being enemies with our money. So today, the reason why we decided to do today, this week, from the 26th of August to the 1st of September, it's Money Smart Week. So Money Smart Week is organized by the National Treasury, Consumer Education, and all those boards. They just come together and just say, okay, this week we just want to remind our consumers the importance of just being aware of their money and just being smart with their money. So so it's just a volunteering thing, since I love just talking about money. So we just volunteer and spread financial literacy awareness. So that's what Money Smart Week is about. So today we're going to be talking about the two-pot system, which is going to be in effect from the 1st of September. So before I introduce our guest, I just want to talk a brief of the two-pot system. So I was actually surprised when I get to understand that this two-pot system was actually, it was the trade union. It was the trade unions who actually like requested for something like this. Because for me, I felt like, okay, we are actually robbing our future if we are going to have access to that money. But anyway, it was the trade unions, and I get to understand the reason why they requested the government to be lenient with our money due to what happened in COVID time in 2020. We saw what happened, that people were retrenched, and some people were being retrenched. They were not fully being educated that you moving your money to a certain preservative fund, you won't have access to it. And some people, they just did it because they didn't have any knowledge. I remember it's one client who actually called me crying, like when they got retrenched, this financial advisor never like really educated them. What does it mean to transfer their money to a preservative fund? And only when she couldn't be able to pay the bonds, and she had money in a preservative fund, but now she couldn't access it because this financial advisor, they didn't educate people just because they just wanted commission out of it. Some people can be cruel with that. And also we realized, like, some people, like, they were going through difficult times and they didn't have any savings. We know we are not really saving. We don't really have a saving culture with us. We don't have emergency funds to our names. So if anything happens and you see that, okay, you got money which is in your retirement fund, but you don't have access to it, it's also a difficult thing. And also notice, like, people, they were resigning so that they can just have access to their retirement funds. Because the old rules were that when you retire, you get access to your money. So you'd find people were actually like resigning from their jobs for them just to have access to that money, but just because maybe they want to go back home to build houses, or maybe they want to send their child to university and they didn't have the money, then they have to resign in those because of those reasons. But you find that, okay, going forward, you are now an unemployed person and you still need money. So I think that's where the trade union was actually coming from, for them to request for this access, to request for this. But I'm not really an expert to this, but I invited someone who got some a bit of knowledge of this two-pot system, who's going to share with us. I'm going to introduce Fulufelani Mashapa. I just call her Fulu, because I'm not sure if I pronounced her name correctly. So she's an actuarial specialist at one of the big 4 banks, a One Young World and Rethink Grants ambassador, and an author of the book Mind Your Sense. Can you see the book? Actually, 2022 to 2023. ESCO, Fulu is a dynamic individual with a passion for people, money, and insurance. As a versatile content creator on YouTube, she shares valuable insights in these domains. Beyond the corporate world, Fulu finds joy in exploring diverse interests, including people, money, food, and the arts, with a particular love for poetry and painting. Guided by the motto, "The learning never ends," Fulu continues to make meaningful contributions to various spheres of life. So over to you, Fulu. Can you just maybe maybe I didn't really do justice to your introduction, so maybe can you just add more and welcome our people. I really appreciate you making time to talk about two-pot system with us today.
Thank you so much, Tari. Yeah, it's really an honor to be here. I'm happy that I was able to honor the invite. And a good evening to every person who's on the call and those people who watch this recording later. I think you did do justice to my intro. That's all about me and more. So I also do what you do. Mine is 9 to 5. I'm an employee of the bank, and then afterwards, I get to do all the financial literacy stuff that I'm really passionate about. And I think my deepest desire would be, for Black people specifically to be educated about money and for us to start changing how we interact and engage with the financial systems and the products and the services that are offered. As you were saying, my heart was actually pained by the fact that, some advisors will give you financial advice that's not necessarily in your best interest, but in their best interest. But having knowledge, if you're knowledgeable about the products you're buying or, the services that you are using, then it becomes easier for you to challenge some of the decisions that they encourage you to take because you'll be knowledgeable. So there's no running away from not having financial literacy. Having a financial advisor doesn't actually exclude you or exempt you from learning about money. So I'm hoping that we will have a fruitful conversation tonight around the two-pot system. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And I love what you said that knowledge is power. But sometimes we go either to our financial advisors or we go to our, or we even approach our banks and ask for these explanations. And because we also don't really get the chance to just research and just get a bit of understanding before I go to the financial advisor. Because we must also understand sometimes when these financial advisors are giving us like advice, maybe it could be in their interest that they just want commission and they don't really like do justice in giving you like the pros and cons of everything. I'm not saying that financial advisors are wrong or our personal bankers are wrong, but we also need just to have that knowledge. Just say, okay, when I'm going there, if they say this, is it gonna work with my situation or not?
Yes.
Right.
And
So for my first question, yeah. Oh, yes, you can go ahead.
oh, yeah, I was about to say, at the end of the day, nobody knows you and your circumstances better than you. So it's very important
Yes.
for you to know which products are going to work for you and which ones are not. And for you to be able to get to that position, it means you need to educate yourself around what could be the possible solutions to some of the problems, financial problems you have, so that you're able to make an informed decision. So yeah, go ahead, Tari.
True, true. So I'll just go on to our first question. And welcome to everyone who joined us a bit later. We just into it and we're talking about two-pot system, which is going to be in effect from 1st of September, which is on Sunday. So
Yes.
before you make that decision or get excited that you want to go into your savings pot, let's just get to understand the good, the bad, the pros, the cons of you dipping into your savings pot. So Fulu, can you just explain to us in layman's terms, what is this two-pot system we are talking about?
So basically, the two-pot system, I think you've already alluded to it. It's a retirement reform type of system where the government wants to give us flexibility in that we are able to access some of our retirement fund savings during like tough economic times, and while still saving for retirement. Because what has been happening is people would basically resign to access all their retirement savings, and when they get to retirement, they don't have enough saved up. I think the statistics around people who retire comfortably, it's like around 6% of South Africans who actually retire comfortably. So it means we have like 94% of people who are retiring and they don't have enough money to basically sustain the lifestyle that they were living just a year or a few months before they retire, which just shows that we don't have a great savings culture. And with the two-pot system, they're basically saying, we will allow you to withdraw some of these funds, but we will also force you to save for retirement so that by the time you retire, you have enough. And basically, every contribution that you will be making towards your retirement will be split between, from the 1st of September onwards, will be split between your retirement pot and your savings pot. So 1/3 will go towards your savings pot and 2/3 will go towards your retirement pot. So say, for example, your contribution is like 9,000 rands, 6,000 will go towards your retirement, 3,000 will go towards your savings pot. And there are, of course, rules and whatnot around, when you can access the savings pot, which is like once a year, and the minimum deposit is 2,000 rands. There's no upper limit on how much you can withdraw, as long as you're withdrawing once per tax year, which runs from the 1st of March to the 28th of February the following year. So yeah, that's in a nutshell the two-pot system that's coming into effect this coming Sunday.
Yes, and then when I was also researching, I realized that okay, for people like us who have been like working like for many years, there will be like another third pot, which is called the vested pots,
Yes.
where they'll put all our other contributions prior to this new change.
Yes.
So you want maybe to dig deeper into that vested pot.
Yes. So basically, because there's a new system coming into effect, there are people like you and I who've been working for a while, and we've been saving towards our retirement way before they introduced the savings pot and the retirement pot. So basically, your vested pot will be made up of all your retirement savings, basically, all your retirement savings up to the 31st of August 2024. So everything that you've contributed towards your retirement savings up to the 31st of August 2024, that will be what we're considering as your vested pot. Now, you might have heard people talking about, 1st of September, we are withdrawing, all these excitement around withdrawals and all of that. So what they will basically do is to at least start you off, to give you like a starting base, right, on your savings pot. They will take 10% of your vested pot. Say, for example, at this point, you've saved 100,000 that's in like your retirement. So they'll take that 10% and they'll basically seed that into 10,000, 10% of like 100,000, that's like 10,000. They'll seed that into your savings pot, and that 10% is kept at 30,000. So for someone who's got like, say, R1,000,000, 10% of that is 100,000. They won't have 100,000 into their savings pot, but rather they'll have 30,000. So everybody, the most that you can have in your savings pot on the 1st of September from your vested pot will basically be 30,000. So when it comes to your vested pot, which is what I think when they first introduced the two-pot system, a lot of people were sort of thinking the government is taking our retirement, where will our retirement funds go? So basically nothing will happen to your money. Your money is still safe. You still have whatever you've contributed basically towards your retirement, you still have it even up to this point. So the government is not taking your money. The company that you're working for is not taking your money, just to like put it out there. Your money is still safe. That money is still yours. So basically what will happen going forward, since we now have the two-pot system, when you contribute towards your retirement, right, you will no longer you will not be contributing to what we are calling the vested pot. So basically everything that you've contributed until the 31st of August, you're no longer contributing to that. That's now, just think of that as some money that's now sitting somewhere, and it's still invested and still earning those returns that it was earning before. So think of it that way. It's money that's just sitting there, invested, earning in investment returns over time. And the old rules around retirement still apply. So say, for example, you resign, because before we were allowed to basically withdraw our money or put it in a preservation fund, or like use that money to maybe go buy a retirement annuity. You're still able to do that with the money, all of the money that you have basically in your vested fund. But you can't touch money that's now in your retirement pot, because that will only be accessed when you get to retirement. So whether you retire at 55 or 60 or 65. So yeah, in a nutshell, those are just like some of the changes that are coming, especially around the vested pot, the retirement pot, and the savings pot.
Thank you so much for that explanation. It's really like insightful. And then I just wanted to, my second question is our theme for this year for Money Smart Week is protect your money, secure your future. How can this be achieved in looking into this new amendment to our retirement funds?
My rule of thumb, right, around retirement savings. So I resigned, I think it was 2 years ago. I resigned 2 years ago, and I simply put my money in a preservation fund. And the reason I say that is my rule of thumb around retirement savings is you do not touch that money. You just leave it there, allow it to earn interest over time. Like you leave it and allow it to grow. And the reason why you sort of want to do that is the longer you keep your money invested, right? Especially for young people or people who still have like 10, 15, 20 years to retirement, is that what we call compound interest basically works in your favor if you have, a huge sum of money invested. And if we look at people, and especially people who are working, their biggest savings or investments are likely going to be their retirement savings or investments. And once you have that sum of money, just any interest over time, by the time, if you keep that money untouched for 20 years, you'll be shocked at how much that money would be in 20 years' time. So rule of thumb is, in you securing your future, is you realizing that there is still a longer term goal that you need to be able to reach, which is retirement. And you need to have enough money. You want to be part of the 6% that retires comfortably. So you taking that money now, and for a lot of people, they don't even have plans. It's just a hype on social media that we're withdrawing, our savings pot, we're withdrawing our savings pot. But there isn't like a lot of people that are going to use that money to do something, productive. You won't even hear someone say, I'm going to take that money and like start a business, or I'm going to take that money and do this course that will advance me in my career. People are literally going to get that money to spend it. So rather than you taking the money to spend it on short-term stuff, which I'm telling you, by the 30th of September, you won't even remember what you did with the money. Rather keep that money there. I mean, you're able to survive right now without the money. That's always my judgment call to say. If you're able to survive without it right now, and you know that you didn't plan for this money, there is nothing that you need to actually use this money for that will be productive or that will help you generate additional income, then leave that money there. Let compound interest work for you. That's how rich people continue to remain rich. They understand that they need to use compound interest in their favor. And one of the things they do is they keep their money invested for a long period of time. That's when you get to see compound interest at work. So in securing a future, don't touch it. I know it's unpopular on social media. Everybody's withdrawing, but don't touch it. Leave it there. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love what you said, Fulu. Like many people, they just hype, like, okay, now I've got access to this money and all that, but also not remembering why were you even saving that money to begin with from the beginning.
Yes.
It's for your future. And I always say, like, your future self is as important as your present self. And I just shared something here on the screen, this post which I saw on social media, which I actually liked. Like people, they're not really looking into like the compounded interest, the effect it will have. So let's say, for example, you are one of those people, they put like 30,000 in your savings pot. So this guy was saying, like, you chow your 30K pot today and you're actually losing R500,000 when you're 65. And it's actually fact, because if you put that rule of 72, I've got another screenshot which I took, which finally did a whole calculation of it. I'll share it now.
Yes.
So this is actually true. There's what we call rule 72 when it comes to compounded interest. So this guy went on to extend further to say, if a 35-year-old today had to withdraw 30,000, by the time that person is at retirement age of 65, that 130,000 withdrawal will result in 500,000 less in retirement savings. So you see, like, okay, today I might be excited of this 30,000, but not looking like the impact of compound interest. Let me get
Yes.
another sharing to see this calculation, like, so that you see we are not cooking numbers.
No, we're not.
It's
These things are actually real, and I think it's also a thing of, because you're not even aware of the fact that that 30,000 that you're withdrawing has the potential to grow into 500,000 in like 30 years time. You don't see it. You think, no, I'm just taking out 30,000. What's 30,000? But in the long run, with compound interest, it's really a lot of money.
mm. So
Yes.
yes, thank you, Victor. So this is the calculation which Bangile did. So this rule of 75, it says that after every 6 years your money doubles. Like
Yeah.
after every 6 years. So this 30,000 you are going to, maybe if you're planning to take it on the 1st of September, in 6 years time it will be 60,000. So she did a walkout. I'm not sure if you can see this clearly, you guys. So she said, okay, your initial on 1st of September is 30,000. After 6 years, it's 60,000. After 12 years, it's 120,000.
Yeah.
After 8 years, it's 240,000. And it goes there. Year 24, 480,000. Year 30, almost close to 1,960,000. So
Yeah.
these are the, so when you're looking at your money, just calculate it, use the rule of 72. Because this money does compound. And I always say, like, compound interest is the eighth wonder, of the world. Is Albert Einstein says it, like, those who understand it ends it. Those who don't
Yes.
for it. So
Yeah,
those will be the
true.
other ones who will be paying for it. So which takes us to our third question, Polo. Do you
Yes.
feel the money in the savings pot will be working harder for people like myself? Because I'm not planning to take that money. So I'm just a bit worried, since they're saying that this money they're treating it as an emergency saving. So which means maybe
Yes.
they might not put it into those, they might not put it into they might not put it into risky investment, but they want it, like,
Yes.
to be accessible. So for people like us, with this money work harder for us, so that it grows in the interest. It also ends this rule of 72 we've been explaining now.
Yeah, so I attended a seminar actually, I think it was 2 weeks ago, and sort of the rule of thumb that's basically being applied by different, like, whether it's investment management companies that offer sort of retirement annuities, or insurance companies, or whatever. The rule of thumb is the investment strategy basically, amongst all the three pots, will basically be the same. So if you are someone who's a bit younger, normally if you're younger, they will put you in what we call growth assets. So it's mostly going to be equities and all of that. So the investment strategy of your retirement pot and your savings pot and your vested pot will basically still be the same. So it's not like they will take, your savings pot and put that in cash, such that you're earning little interest compared to your retirement pot. Because I also feel like that strategy works for now. They might actually change it in the future. It works for now because it will be very difficult in terms of the administration of just this new reform coming into play, to have different investment strategies for the three pots that you have. And I know with our pension at work, you basically have a choice to decide on, this is sort of the investment that I want to put my retirement fund into. So it will become very difficult to now make people choose, or like have different investments. Because at the end of the day, if you think of it, it's still, in as much as we're considering it as three pots, it's still just a bunch of money that's sitting somewhere. Yeah, it's still just a bunch of money that's sitting somewhere. But then, of course, technicalities come into play when you now come and say, I want to withdraw. So in the background, it's still just I like to see it as, it's still just money that's sitting somewhere. But when it now comes to us being able to distinguish between the savings pot and the retirement pot and the vested pot, that's where now the technicalities of how much do you have in your savings pot, how much do you have in your retirement pot, how much do you have in your vested pot, that's where now we start differentiating to say, oh, this is how much you have here, this is how much you have here. But at the end of the day, it's still just one pot that's seating, but we're able to now separate it into three. So the investment strategy, the general approach in the industry is, the investment strategy will basically be the same for all three pots. Yeah. So your money will still be working very hard for you, Tari. Don't worry. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me that's really comforting because I was a bit worried about that. Like, hey, when I want my money
Yes.
to work hard for me, it was that's
Yeah,
the
no,
only
it will
reason
still be
why.
working hard. It will still be working hard for you. Don't worry.
Yeah. Because that's the only reason why I've agreed to a certain percentage which they're taking for my provident fund. So I don't want it like to be messed up with any amendment of bills or whatever. So yeah,
Yes.
thank you for that explanation. It's really comforting. And our fourth question, looking into tax implications, what advice would you give
Yes.
to our listeners? Because I see many people, they're so excited that they're going to take 30,000, but they don't know that taxmen, they want their portion as well.
Of course. And I think when it comes to tax, you also need to make sure that your tax affairs are in order. Because you might be withdrawing 30,000, but if you're still owing SARS, which is also why this whole system sort of helps SARS to collect more taxes, because the minute you apply to get a withdrawal, they need to be notified on their side, and you need to sort of get clearance of some sort to say you don't owe SARS anything before your money comes out. So it's a thing of whenever you withdraw, so under the old system, basically under the old system, they would normally use what we call the withdrawal tax tables, which you can go find on the SARS website. It's the withdrawal tax tables. And if you look at like how much tax we're being charged, that was a bit the withdrawal tax tables had favorable sort of like tax treatment compared to what we will have now under the savings pot, because when you withdraw money from your savings pot, they basically use your marginal tax rate to actually tax you. So, say for example, you are on the highest bracket, your tax rate is 45%. Say under the withdrawal table, you were going to be charged 20%. Now the 45% applies regardless of how much you're withdrawing. So it becomes really important to also know, okay, what's my what's my marginal tax rate? How much am I going to be charged? Because people think like when we all withdraw 30,000, we will all pay. I've been seeing examples on social media where people are like, no, you'll be charged like 8,000 in tax, and so the amount that you're going to have is like 22,000. It's not going to be the same for all of us because we're not on the same tax bracket. So it becomes different. And also the other factor is if you're owing SARS, say 30,000, right? And when you withdraw that 30,000, they basically say we're gonna tax you 8,000, and then you have 22,000 remaining. You might actually not get that 22,000 if you're owing SARS 30,000 from all the previous years. So that's also something to consider, to say we might be rejoicing that we're going to get our money, but if you owe in SARS, you might actually not get anything, because SARS will basically say, okay, this person still owes us. So instead of giving them the money, bring that money to us to pay what they owe. So that becomes important. And I think a lot of us, you sort of look at 8,000 rands. It's a lot of money in this economy, honestly. You can do something with that 8,000 rands. So I think the tax implication, and also the admin fees that you will be charged as well as you withdraw. And I think a lot of people are just thinking on the first, as I apply to get my money, I'm going to get my money instantly. The discussion, so from the discussion that I attended, the industry discussion around, the two-pot system, there will be an admin fee of between 200 rands and 600 rands. I guess it will vary based on who your provider is, that will be charged for you to actually withdraw. And then other consideration will be that your money won't be available immediately, just as I mentioned, because that clearance from SARS that you don't owe anything they need to get that. So your money, you're probably not going to get your money within like 24 hours. You're probably going to have to wait a while, especially given that most people will be withdrawing anyway. So there will be a lot of administrative work that has to basically go through all these providers before you get your money. So chances are you're not going to get your money in September, to be quite honest. Depending on how great your pension administrators are, you might actually maybe get it somewhere in December or something. So yeah, that's just something to be mindful of. And honestly, if you don't need that money, leave it there. That's my general message. Leave it there. You don't have to pay unnecessary taxes as a result. So yeah, that will be my response, Tari. Tari, are you still there?
Yeah, I love. Yes, I'm there. I love your explanation, what you said, like, okay, like many people were just thinking that, okay, maybe
Hello?
and just educate yourself before. Can you hear me, guys? I think my network. Let me
Yes,
just let
we
me
can
pause
hear you
the
now.
video. Okay, thank you, Lemo. We're going to take the questions just up to now.
Yeah,
Okay, so thank you for that explanation. I just removed my video because I think my network is a bit acting up.
okay.
So I was saying, like, many people, they're just excited, like, okay, I'm going to get 30,000, right? And not understanding that whatever you're going to take, it's going to up your income tax bracket, and it's
Yes,
going to reduce whatever you're going to take. And also, I love the explanation you made that if you're owing SARS, they are going to take their portion before you get whatever you take. So for me, I always say to people, like, let's first educate ourselves before we get too hyped up and decide to take this money. But anyway, this money is for your future, and your future will really thank you for not taking the money. So I've got two questions here. Let's just respond to them before we go to our next question.
yes.
Uh, Lemo is saying, thanks for the session. Can I clarify? One, is it 30,000 once of withdrawal? Two, what fees will be applicable to tax, admin fees, and what else? If I have a preservation but not employed, will I be charged 40% based on previous rates when I was employed? I don't want to withdraw, but I'm in a financial crisis, so ish. Do you want me to repeat that?
No, I have the Q&A thing open. Okay, so the
Okay.
30,000, is it once off? So basically how the withdrawal, but also I need to understand here, Lemu, are you working currently? It doesn't seem like it.
Or Lemo, you can open your mic and respond. She said she's not working. Okay.
So basically, what would then happen is you fall, whatever you have basically falls under the vested fund, not necessarily the two-pot system, right? But unfortunately, if you have your funds in a preservation fund, correct me if I'm wrong, Tari, you can only access the funds when you get to retirement.
Yes, that's correct. A preservation fund is kind of different from the way the provident funds used to work, right?
Yes, so
Mm.
it would be you waiting until retirement. So the 30,000, I guess, in terms of it being once off under the two-pot system, it's like that's the starting position, right? So the rules say you're able to withdraw once from your savings pot, once per tax year. So from the 1st of March all the way until the 28th of Feb the following year, you're able to make one withdrawal. And they don't limit how much, basically. They don't put a cap on this is how much you can withdraw. So that's basically once off in terms of, okay, we are all starting with 30,000 or less based on how much we have in our retirement savings. But going forward, you can only withdraw once per tax year. And then what fees will be applicable? Normally, it will be admin fees, and of course, there will be tax. I'm not aware because normally they'll just do admin fees as a bulk. They won't necessarily say, oh, these are relating to advice, or these fees are relating to investments. These fees, they normally just charge you like as a bulk to say 0 point something percent would be admin fees. So those are the fees. And then I'm not sure if I covered everything. I think I covered everything. That if I have preservation not employed, will I be charged 40% based on my previous tax rate? So basically, what the percentage that you need to look at, you need to go to the SARS. I'm not sure if Tari, you can quickly go to the SARS withdrawal tables. You want, if it's like your funds that are basically preserved, so it's stuff that's been there before the two-pot system. The tax table that you should be using is the withdrawal tax table. So basically, if we look at how much you will be withdrawing, you can look at the table to say, okay, if I'm withdrawing between 0 and like 25 or 27K, how much am I going to be charged? If I'm withdrawing between this and this, how much does the withdrawal tax table say I will be charged? So it's not going to be your marginal tax rate. It's going to be the tax rate from the withdrawal tables. So maybe, yeah, have a look from the have a look on the withdrawal text tables on the SARS website. Yeah. So for everything, basically every withdrawal that is related to your vested fund, right? Stuff that's in your vested fund, what would apply there would be the withdrawal text tables on the SARS website. And then every withdrawal that's related to your savings pot, then your marginal tax rate will apply there. So that's like the main distinction around taxes before the two-pot system and after the two-pot system. Yeah. Do we have another question?
Let me just quickly check. For now, it's only that one. And then to also add on to SARS, I was listening to this interview which was done by I think it's the SARS director or something. And he was saying that, like, if you go on your e-filing system, they are going to put a table. They are going to put like a calculator kind of to just calculate. Okay, like it will tell you like how much tax is going to be deducted if you are planning to take your 30,000. From that interview, he was saying it's going to be live today, but I never had a chance to go and check if it's actually live or what. So I think before you actually do that decision, I think just go like you're going into your e-filing system and just check that table and do the calculation, then if it's really worth it or not worth it, withdraw the money.
Yes.
But is there extent that you are in a bit of a financial crisis, then maybe you need to dip into that, but also just do the calculation to see if it's worth it or not.
Yeah.
And this will take us to our last part of the questions today. And what last words can you leave with our audience on how they can protect their money and secure their future, which is our Money Smart theme?
I think what we, especially like for women, what women do really well is save, right? But I think we need to tap into investing more. Saving is amazing, but if we really want to secure our future, take advantage of compound interest, take advantage of, the power of money, or the power of having money, we need to tap into investing. So I'd say if you are someone who's good with saving, I'm challenging you to actually start investing. And if you're someone who's not saving at all, what I always preach on my social media platforms where I talk about money and all these things, what I always preach is you need to at least start saving. And it doesn't matter how small it is. It can be you just saving 50 rands or you saving 100 rands, but you need to just have a small amount of money that's stashed away somewhere for in case emergencies happen and all of that. And over time, then that sort of builds up as well. But we know, like, if you're saving a little, it's not going to build up too much. But what you have to now try to sort of challenge yourself to do is, if you see that your income is not enough, or you get your income and you basically use it's not that you're reckless with your money, it's not that you're spending your money on unnecessary things, but it's the fact that you're getting your money and you're stretching it to cover your needs. Then you need to start thinking around, how can I actually generate additional streams of income? And with those additional streams of income, then that can give you the power to start saving and investing, and secure your future, your kids' future, as well, by those savings and investments. So there are different things. I think one of the simplest ways, I always tell my clients, one of the simplest ways to actually make money is to identify something that you can sell. And when you sell it, you make sure that you include a margin, a profit margin to that price, so that whatever item you're selling, that from, this item that I'm selling, I'm making a 30 rands, a 20 rands profit from it. And then if you sell like 10 of those, you're already sitting on 300. If you sell like 1,000 of them, you're already sitting like on 3,000. So it becomes like that additional 3,000 that you can now say, I'm going to invest in a tax-free savings account, or I'm going to invest in shares. But what becomes important is, no matter where you are, you just need to save. If you're saving already, start investing, to make sure that your money works for you over time. Yeah, we need to get to a place where when we're sleeping, we're making money. When we are walking, we're making money. When we're talking, we're making money without actually doing anything. Money just growing wherever it is. So those will be my last words.
Yeah, I really love that. Like, to get to a point where wherever I am, even when I'm sleeping or
Yes, you're
eating,
making money.
money just coming and money is just growing. I love that. And
Yes.
I just want to reiterate on that as well. Like savings should be a habit, because like I always
Yes.
say to my clients that there's no one day when money is going to come to you and say, I'm here, save me this month. So you
Mm.
need to make it a habit. Start it with even a small amount. I remember with me when I started with the saving culture, the saving habit, I started saving 50 rand. And that
Yes.
money was growing. When I saw it growing, I was like, "Ah, actually, I can actually do this." Then I started to look into ways how I can invest money and do all these things. And there are a lot of platforms where you can even invest money, like your easy equities. I
Yes.
love giving example to easy equities, because even with the 50 rands, you can go and buy
And
some
buy
shares.
shares.
So
Yeah, fractions of
you don't need
shares.
millions to start investing.
Yes. And I
Even
think that's the mindset we should be pushing, to say you don't need to have millions or thousands of rands to start saving and investing. You can start with 50 rands and it
yes,
can go a long way.
true. But the money does grow. Remember the example we're giving about how money does compound. So it does
Yes.
compound. And the best way to start is starting today. Like just start today. Even with a small amount, it does add up. It does add up.
Yes. It
Let's just get into
does.
the culture of saving, of investing, and just remembering our present self. Sorry, our future self is as important as our present self, right? So my I encourage you guys, even if you're tempted to go and get deep into that 30,000, unless it's a really serious emergency or you want to invest in yourself or there's something major, I think it's better to just leave that money there, because there was a reason why you put it. Yes, we are accessible to it, but it's not money to go for holiday. It's not money to go and buy that Louis Vuitton bag you've been eyeing. It's
Yeah.
money for the future. So if you don't really have a need for it, just leave it to grow there. Your future self will thank you. So if you notice, I've shared a link on the chat. I'm just asking you for a minute just to share your feedback about this session, because it's also part of what we need to submit back to Money Smart Week, since we are promoting Money Smart Week this week. So it won't take you more than a minute. So just click in the link and just share your feedback. It doesn't ask for your personal information. You don't put your name, you don't put your age or anything. Just put like, how does this session, did it help you or not help you? And just put your honest feedback. So I would appreciate that. And I'll open this time for questions if there's anyone with questions. You can either open your mic or type on the chat box. Questions? Okay. Okay, it seems like there are no questions. So maybe people, they really understood of what you're saying. So we've also been recording this session. So we'll also share with you the YouTube link when we actually put it up. Otherwise, we just want to thank you for your time. And Fulu, I really want to thank you for sacrificing your time. I know you've got a busy schedule, but actually you sacrifice time to just share this knowledge with us. And now I also got some a bit of understanding of how this two-pot system, or three-pot system rather, how it's going to work. And yeah, thank you so much for the time, and to everyone who joined us. I really do appreciate your time to
Oh,
join
thank
us
you
tonight.
so much. Thank you so much for having me. I really had a great time having this conversation with you.
Cool.
All right.
Wonderful.